All right. So, as most of you probably already know, the Acolyte was canceled. Yay, my head's not cut off now. So, most of you may know, the Acolyte has been canceled, which should shock absolutely nobody. And it also doesn't shock Amanda Stenberg. Now, I'll get into the actual reasons why it was canceled. But let's start with what Amanda Stenberg said. First off, she's not shocked that it was canceled, so we all agree on something. Not a shock. However, her reasoning is understandable but wrong. She thinks it's because of toxic fandom. Now, granted, toxic fandom did as much as it could to try to bury the series. However, plenty of fans tuned in to the premiere. So, it's not like nobody tuned in. This show was in the top 10 when it started. It just took an absolute nosedive after that, not because of toxic fans, but because the show wasn't very good. Now, she is right, because she knows that how people treated her and the rest of the cast even before the show came out. Because there are people out there who have a problem with there being a show out there that doesn't show white men as the center. There are people like that. And she got plenty of hate, and apparently the whole cast got plenty of hate because how dare they have a show which doesn't star a white man. Now, I assume that this only is a recent phenomena on new characters, because I'm not aware of this happening to Ahsoka. And since The Mandalorian, for most of the time, especially in the first season, had his helmet on, those same toxic fans had no clue as to the race of The Mandalorian. So I don't know. This is the same thing that befell She-Hulk, but again, She-Hulk also had her issues. But so that's how Amanda Stenberg feels about why it was canceled. Now, again, there were toxic fans, and this show was review bombed. However, that is not the reason why it got canceled. Now, first off, the official reason is that it cost a lot of money. I mean, we are talking around the same amount as what a feature film would cost. And Bob Iger has turned off the money spigot when it comes to the Disney Plus shows. He wants to spend those big bucks on feature films. He wants to concentrate on feature films. And that TV shows are just going to be a little bit of extra for those people who want to continue to follow these characters, as opposed to what they have been doing, like with the Acolyte, with The Mandalorian, with a lot of Marvel series where they introduce characters. And then when they introduce them on the big screen, people are confused, even if you give a quick explainer as to who these people are. You know, the movie-only fans aren't going to be familiar with these characters the way those of us who've been watching them. Just like I'm not familiar with Ahsoka as much, or the Ghost Crew in general. because I never watched Clone Wars. I never watched, there was another one, there was another show that they did with those characters. So yeah. So Bob Iger has decided that he wants to turn off the money spigot, that the TV show shouldn't cost as much as movies. And I don't know if that's simply because it's easier to get back the money you put in movies, because there's only so many subscribers you can get. Once someone subscribes, that's it. They aren't going to give you more money at that point unless you raise the fee. So yeah, that was the official reason given, is that it's budget. That the budget was just exorbitant, and they just didn't want to do that. Again, same reasoning for She-Hulk. And She-Hulk also had this issue of spending buku bucks, and you're like, wait, what? Why does the CGI look so bad then? So yeah, same thing. Not only were they spending a lot of money, but it's like, you were spending all that money for what? So, because I doubt that Legion J, I don't know. I doubt that he, was commanding such a price tag that that's where most of the money went to. But anyway, so that was the official reason. So it's not like Amanda Stenberg said. Now, ratings did factor into it, but this is why her reasoning that it was toxic fandom was wrong. Now, when the show first aired, it was in the top 10 of original TV shows watched. So people were watching it. Star Wars fans were watching it. Whatever the review bombing attempted to do failed. People were still tuning in. Even though by then there were people who got a sneak peek of the first 4 episodes and were already putting out their reviews. There was still wide interest in this show. And it was the show itself that made viewership take a nosedive. It cratered. And the reason it cratered was, first off, the premise of the show was supposed to be that a Jedi Master and his Padawan get together to try to solve a murder mystery. Well, that was solved in what, the 2nd episode? I mean, it's not like it was a season-long arc. They burned through that quickly. Plus, this was billed as a Sith-centered show. And that is what Leslie Headland wanted to do. What seems like we would be getting in season 2 was what she wanted all along. She wanted this to be a Sith-centered show. It was apparently Lucasfilm that put the kibosh on it. So it's very hard to be into a show where it seems like literal false advertising. Why continue to call this show Sith-centered and to mention about it being a murder mystery that, and make it sound like this is going to be a season-long arc of a whodunit when it's solved in the 2nd episode? Of course people are going to lose interest. Like, okay, well, we already know the purpose of the show. We've already learned who did it. So, people just tuned out. Now, there were also questions about certain characters, and, some people liked the character, some people didn't, but I can see why people were annoyed, that they lost interest, and it didn't get any better. I mean, in some cases it did, because Chimere suddenly became a super interesting character from being just a comic relief. And what season 2 was promising us sounds like I said, what Leslie Headland had in store all along. Now, there were a lot of questions that Star Wars fans had about canon, and is it stepping on the toes? There were questions as to Vernestra Rowe. Apparently what we saw was not what her species looks like. So there were a lot of problems, a lot of reasons why people tuned in and then tuned right back out. And maybe some of it had to do with there not being any white males in the cast. That's possible. That is entirely possible, that there were some toxic fans who didn't get the memo that this was going to be an all diverse cast. Fine. I will not say that couldn't have happened, but to just immediately blame it all on toxic fans is, number one, giving them way too much power. And number two, it's wrong. And why would you want to give such dickheads? Why do you want to make them feel powerful? Like, oh, look what we did. We got a show canceled because, we didn't get to see white men, because it's so sad that there's no show out there that features white men. So, don't give them that power. Don't make them feel like that they actually accomplished something, because all they did was hate on a show before they found out that it actually wasn't that good of a show to begin with, because they only looked, the toxic fans only look so far as to whether there's a white man in the show. The rest of us looked at the show and thought, this makes no sense. What is happening here? And I get it. You want to keep, people engaged. You want to keep people questioning what's happening, in a good way. This show did the exact opposite. There's only so many times that you could come this close to revealing what the hell is going on and then not doing it before people just give up. Yes, suspense is good, but it's gotta be done well. And this show didn't do it well. So the ratings did suffer, but it had nothing to do with toxic fans, because there were plenty of fans watching it to begin with. It's just that people lost interest because the show, whether you want to put the blame on Leslie Headland or Lucasfilm, the fact is that the show didn't measure up to the hype. And the reviews kind of were a mixed bag. Even the bad reviews were trying to not, really slam the show. They gave it they were like, well, maybe it'll get better type vibe. So we have budget and we have ratings. Now, again, some of that might be, you could contribute to toxic fandom, but that would be a small amount. It looks like Star Wars fans are not, by and large, toxic. That most fans are willing to give the show a chance, and then, once they give it a chance, then they'll form an opinion. toxic fandom has been around forever. Just ask John Boyega how people treated him when he was on the show, when he was in the movies. And to combat that, Disney decided to give him a dead end arc. So yeah. Toxic fandoms have been around for a while. They've always been around, but they don't have the power that Amanda Stenberg thinks they do have. And why basically give them that power? I mean, I get why she thinks that, because she saw the hate, she saw the hateful comments, she saw that the ratings plummeted, so that's how she put 2 and 2 together. And she probably does not believe that it had anything to do with budget, because she's probably not aware of Bob Iger's declaration that, yeah, let's not pay to make shows that cost as much as a feature-length movie. So, yeah, those are 2 big reasons why the Acolyte didn't get renewed. And then, of course, the third, which I already touched on, was basically the false advertising. Usually when somebody gives a synopsis for a show, even if they don't change it as the show goes on, in subsequent seasons or whatever, which a lot of shows do, the fact remains that the show's synopsis covered like the first 2, possibly 3 episodes. The rest of the season was not that. It was not finding out who's murdering Jedi. It turns into, we need to stop who's doing it. Which, you could say that that's just a natural progression, but that's not what the synopsis says. The synopsis is very specific. And plus, we got, even before the show came out, we were told that this was going to be a Sith-centered show. Which, like I said, Leslie Headland wanted to do, and for whatever reason, Lucasfilm balked. Whether it was Kathleen Kennedy who balked at it, or Dave Filoni, I really don't care. The point is, somebody at Lucasfilm balked at the thought of making the Sith look like heroes of their own story. And the question is, why not? Because, like I said, Chimere became the absolute most interesting character once it was revealed that he was the Sith Master. Well, he's the Sith apprentice to the Sith Master, but I mean, as far as what was that other, May? As far as May was concerned, he was a Sith Master. Now, if they went with what they were teasing at the end of the series, Chimere is the Sith apprentice. He wanted his own acolyte, and we would have seen Darth Plagueis. And plus the whole cat and mouse game between him and Vernestra Rowe. That would have been an interesting show to see how people think of the Jedi from the Sith perspective. I mean, we got a bit of that with the witches. This idea that the Jedi seem to think that they know the one true way to use the Force, and nobody could diverge from that. I mean, that was an interesting message and would have been great to explore, but it was done half-assed because Leslie Headland was not allowed to make the project she wanted to. So she basically came up with a sloppy second. So, yeah, a lot of great reasons why the Acolyte was not renewed. None of them involves toxic fandom, because there was plenty of fandom that was willing to give the show a chance, and they just lost interest. So I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of hate comments from people who either didn't bother to watch this video long enough to know that I am not accusing toxic fans of canceling the show, or didn't bother to watch it at all and just see the title and attack me. Because toxic people tend to lead to brain rot. They don't care about nuance. They don't care about facts. If they look like they are being attacked for whatever reason, because they can't stand that, even though they're toxic, they can't stand being called toxic. So they're going to at me in the comments. They did this in my first video when Amanda Stenberg first brought up the fact that the comments that are being made at her because people don't like the show, and somehow think that her being black has anything to do with the show being bad, as opposed to it just being bad, because it wouldn't have been better if this was a bunch of white men doing that show. That would not have changed the fact that this was not a well done show. So yeah, I'm fully expecting to have people yell at me, which is perfectly fine. It causes engagement, and I end up with subscribers. So, troll away. I'm fine with it. I don't care. But I believe I've covered everything I wanted to in this video, and it looks like we have some Marvel trailers that were finally released. I think it's the ones from D23. So I'm going to look at them and see if they're worthy of a video, or if it's just the same old, same old. But, so you'll possibly see up to 3 more videos, because there's 3 trailers that I need to go through. But either way, I will see you guys in the next video.